Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports for today's 5 things learned from the second round of the Carling Currie Cup. Basically just look at a couple of takeaways, not necessarily individual performance or anything, but just a couple of lessons we learned, some things to take note of and things to keep an eye out as we then move into round 3 of the competition this week. The lineups are coming out in the next day or two, so we will be doing previews of every single game. And very exciting news, we are back with our live watch-alongs this weekend. We will be doing 2 watch-alongs on Saturday. First of all, we'll be doing the Lions versus the Cheetahs at 4:30 South African Standard Time, and then we'll be doing the Sharks versus Bulls at 7 o'clock. If you can't join us for the watch-alongs though, we will obviously be doing a very short sort of reaction after each game, just a 5-minute summary of what's going on, so that basically if you can't watch any rugby this weekend, jump on the channel and we'll have you covered. So please make sure you subscribe and like the channel, bottom right hand corner there, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications so that you never miss a moment with Forever Rugby. And without any further ado, let's look at number 1 in terms of the things that we took away from the past weekend. Right, now this extends to more than just on the field, because obviously on the field they suffered their second successive loss, first losing to a 14-man Bulls side, now losing to a Lions side who was under pressure. So the Western Province performances on the pitch have not been particularly impressive. And when I say the Western Province, I mean we all know, we're all aware of all the sort of the ballroom politics, everything that's going on with the Western Province as a union. They're bankrupt, and the administration is a mess. And there was lots of stories. Well, it wasn't even stories. They confirmed that they were in negotiations with an American consortium to come in and actually buy the union itself, and to try and make it sustainable again, because they spend a lot of money and they've given some big contracts. For example, the likes of Peter Steph Toy is on a very big money contract to try and keep him from going overseas. But some big developments is that same consortium is now apparently interested in actually buying the Sharks rather than the Western Province. And sort of one wonders if maybe they look at how the fact that the Sharks are probably run better, have less issues in terms of boardroom politics and that kind of thing. Maybe it's a more attractive option for the investors to go in there. And a big story was today that they are interested in bringing Springbok captain Siya Kolisi to the Durban franchise if this move were to go ahead. So the Western Province president came out and said that will not happen, that Siya Kolisi will be at Western Province for the future, and that they've invested a lot into him and they will continue to invest in him because he is such a prized asset. But I tell you what, money talks, eh? And if you look at Siya Kolisi, probably the biggest face in rugby at the moment. And you can see that with all the endorsements. One of the big names for Adidas, a brand ambassador for Red Bull. He's making waves. He's a very, very influential personality and sportsman in the current world. And so, I mean, who knows? If they've got the money, there's no reason why he might not move to the Sharks. And that would be a big acquisition and a massive loss for the province itself. So obviously we know that the Bulls are the leading side in the country. You don't debate that, but what was very interesting was this weekend they made quite a few changes, and the players really, really did step up. And I think that they just continue to tick the boxes in terms of what makes a great team. Ability to win under pressure against 14 men, tick. Ability to put in a massive second half performance and really take teams on despite being quite close, tick. Being able to not particularly play well and still get results. You look at the Lions game, tick. And this is another sort of notch that they've managed to cross off with being able to rotate quite a lot of players and still get the result. The likes of Trevor Nyakana coming off the bench this weekend, Ambrose Papier starting, and Nini Van Sale coming on. Sintu Manjezi getting his first start really since he joined the union, and he was fantastic. He was on our team of the week. He was really, really good. So I think that is something that the Bulls just have in abundance. The fact that despite having quite a few injuries, they've got so much depth at the union, and they've always had so many players. But now they're starting to use it and starting to really flex that muscle. And the fact that if you can make those changes against the Cheetah side, which is one of the better sides in the competition, and still go and put in those performances, it's massive, because it means that you can back your sort of B team players or maybe your second string players to start a game and keep yourselves in it. And even if you're not necessarily winning, you've got the experience to come on and take the game at the end. Chris Smith had a fantastic game last week. Moyne staying straight back into the side. Chris Smith came on late in the game and he scored a try and was very good. Trevor Nyakane came off the bench and was fantastic and was really, really solid for the Bulls. So, having that depth is a massive, massive part of being a very successful side. And the Bulls really do look like they are turning into a side that could dominate South African rugby for the foreseeable future. So a Union which started off so well in the first couple of weeks, and that victory against the Bulls suddenly had, the Cheetahs really sort of putting it to SA Rugby and saying that we don't deserve to be relegated. We've been ill-treated by SA Rugby, and, we've always sort of been shunted ahead of the other sides. And they had a really big point. And this competition, well, both the Super Rugby Unlocked and the Currie Cup was an opportunity for them to demonstrate why they deserve to be considered within the top 4 franchises in the country, why they deserve more respect, why they deserve to stay in the Pro 16, why they deserve to be really backed by SA Rugby. However, they needed to keep winning and needed to keep them in the top 4 and come at least 4th to be able to maintain that credibility. And they have now slipped down to 5th with the Lions overtaking them, which means this weekend, that Hoppers Fall, we're doing a watch along, there is going to be a huge clash. This clash was called off last time. It was the first game that was cancelled as a result of COVID-19, but it's very much a grudge match in terms of, first of all, if the Lions win, they extend their lead over the Cheetahs in the log. But also they'll sit there and say, and you'll sit there and say, right, well, can the Cheetahs really complain about their treatment, because they're clearly not one of the best sides, well, not the best top 4 sides in the country. So it's a vital clash this weekend in terms of the Cheetahs proving that they deserve to be listened and that they deserve the attention and deserve to be back, which they've been calling for within their outrage. So it's a big weekend for them to try and prove a point once again. And I keep saying it, he's probably one of the best performing players in the country right now. And I think moving into the British and Irish Lions next year, I don't think there's going to be a massive change in the squad from the World Cup. Not a lot of rugby is going to happen. No Springbok rugby happened this year. And there will be some internationals next year before the British and Irish Lions tour. But in terms of certain players who are really putting their hands up to be included in next year's squad, is Marco Verstappen, and that's regardless of injuries. He's playing so well at the moment that you sit there and you think, how do you not pick him for the Springboks? Which is a nice problem to have, because you've obviously got a World Cup winning squad already, and now you've got players who are pushing themselves into that squad. And I mean, there will be injuries. There will be certain players who are not available. We've already seen that it's unlikely that Warwick Lunt will be available next year. So you look at and think, well, there's a spot for an outside back. There's if an outside back is really impressing, there's a spot in around that squad for someone to come in. We've got a couple of lock injuries, which means, the likes of maybe a Salman Murat, maybe a Ruan Nokia, is starting to put their hand up to possibly move into the Springbok side. But I think that Marco van Staden, if he keeps playing like he is at the moment, will have to be in the conversation to be part of that squad for the British and Irish Lions next year. Well, last week he was under pressure. Now he's on borrowed time. John Dobson is a man at the helm of a struggling franchise, a franchise which is under so much pressure, which continuously produces good players but can't get necessarily the best out of them, can't get the results on the pitch at the moment, and they are in danger of slipping down to 4th, 5th place if their results don't go this way. They've got a decent game ahead of them this weekend, so they've got a chance to try and sort of right their wrongs. But they've really struggled against the sort of the top sides, except for that really good game against Chiefs. But because they've been so inconsistent, there's been lots of calls in there saying, is the coaching staff the issues? Because look, now people are starting to wonder about the players themselves. Maybe we have sort of overrated these players. But I'm sorry, you look at the amount of Springboks they've got, the amount of World Cup winners in that squad, in Damien Willemse, Herschel Yankees, the entire front row, Sia Khaleesi, Pete Septoy when he gets back from injury. There's so many World Cup winners and capped Springboks in that side that you can't sit there saying it's the players. So there must be something wrong, inherently wrong in the coaching staff, and those questions are being asked. And I don't know, there are people like Jimmy Stonehouse in the country who's always looked for that sort of next step. But I think that John Dobson, unless he can really turn it around and get that Province side to a Currie Cup final or something like that, or even win silverware, I think that he will probably be replaced in the foreseeable future, because I think it's a union which have underperformed for so long that I think that you don't get any more time as a coach. You don't get back any more than you can, then the results will measure. Unless there's a major marked improvement. It's one thing if you're playing fantastic rugby and just coming up short, but when you're getting these bad results, when results just not going against, going for you, they sit there looking, well, what can we change? And the easiest thing to change is always the coaching staff. So there's the 5 things we learned. Let me know what you thought about the weekend and anything that you picked up in the comments. As I said, please do subscribe and like the channel. Smash a like if you enjoyed the video. Jump in the comments, let me know what you thought, and I'll chat to you very, very soon.